to training to training to training. And I think, for us, I love the topic that you're going to talk about today, because I think in the beginning, we mourned the 2020 and 2021 refi cycle. And so the first 6 to 8 months of this new world was mourning that cycle and trying to figure out, how do I generate leads? Just leads. Just how do I even talk to people again? And I think we've done a really good job of, as an industry, of training our way out of the slump, getting ourselves into a better mindset, accepting this as the new normal, and actually generating a tremendous amount of leads. But what we didn't expect was the inventory problem. And what we didn't expect was a robust buyer pool and multiple offers, even at 7% interest rates. So now that we find ourselves here, we find ourselves doing a tremendous amount of work, pre-approving hundreds of people every month in our branches and regions to have, what I'm going to call lackluster closings or lackluster fundings. And the only way
lackluster conversion.
So I think this is really timely. And, for those that haven't been in the industry longer than 10 years, they probably don't really remember what it's like to nurture someone for a long time and have to keep them, next to you for a while. And I think that's the market we're in right now. And, just if someone pre-approved with you, chances are they're pre-approved with somebody else as well. And we want to make sure that we stay in front of them as much as possible, and that we somehow get them into escrow. So that's what I'd love to talk about a little bit today, guys.
What was really cool is this group, Gino, we had a little prep before you got on, and welcome everyone to the, our weekly call in our Momentum Builder community. And if you haven't downloaded the app, get on the app. That way you can stay part of it, Momentum Builder. But we always try to bring relevant topics, and Ryan Grant, of course, and his team and the Triibe and Chris have been on quite a few times for a reason, is because they have their pulse on the market and they're figuring how to make this work in this market. Because we know about the stories about people talking about how they did 100, 200, $300 million in 21 and in 20. Yay. A lot of good that does you now when there's no refis. So what was really cool is these guys are walking the walk, which is really important. They're figuring out how to convert, because that's a hard thing we're having right now. And they're having some of their best years ever. I know Justin's having his best year ever. Has anybody said that this year? Hardly anyone can say that right now. I'm telling you, we're on these calls every week. We know every top player in the industry. That is rare. And we wanted to bring them on so that they can share what's working for them, which was really cool. That's what's cool about the community. That's what's cool about givers that are on this call, is they're willing to share with you their success stories and what's working. And hopefully, kudos to you guys being on this call again. And I see a lot of regulars that you're smart enough to, learn from people that are actually successful right now, as opposed to just, putting your head in the sand and hoping the market's going to get better. This is the market. Whatever the market is, it is this. So you got to figure it out. And Ryan and his team and Mark and Chris have brought some of their top players with the Triibe, and going to share with you how they're converting and how they're being successful in this market, because it can happen. It can happen. And these guys are going to share about that. So I'm not sure if Ryan or Chris want to kick this off, but Ryan, we're going to tee this up to you, and then we'll do Q&A at the end so you can ask any pertinent questions. And please engage. I love you guys to use the reactions. Let these guys know what you think of their comments, if it's good, if it motivates you, you love it. Use the reactions so we engage in chat. This is all for you. This is your community, and we have a great group of people here. So let's have some fun. So with that, I'm kicking it off to you, Ryan.
Awesome. Thanks, Don. Gino, thank you guys for having us. Team, the reason why we wanted to have Jason and Justin specifically join us for this is they are two members of our Triibe community who not only are learning, what needs to happen in today's world, but they're executing on it at a very high level. Not only are both of their productions, very high, and Justin is going to be probably his best year ever after 6 years being in the business, which is amazing. Is that they're not just converting; they're converting in a way that their clients are choosing them for a very specific reason. And there's a lot of people that are converting right now, but if you look at the margins they're converting at, they're basically giving away the farm on every deal, right? They're, trying to be the cheapest, right? And then, yeah, they get a bunch of clients to say yes, but at the end of the day, there's no money to actually run the business or reinvest back into the business and reinvest back into the client. So what I want everyone to try and learn from our time together today, and what, we're going to ask of Jason and Justin is, what are you telling the clients that is not only getting them excited about the concept of becoming a homeowner, but what are you committing to them, and how are you helping them, see a longer term benefit in your partnership, right? Because if they don't see that, they're going to treat you like a commodity. They'll treat you like a transaction. You'll have to be the cheapest. So I think it's important to know they're not just converting well because they're the cheapest interest rates. They're definitely not that, but they're converting well because they are following a very specific set of commitments and processes that we teach here at Triibe. And I'm just super proud of you guys for doing what you're doing. So thank you for being with us. Mark, was there anything you'd add to that?
No, I just echo that. I'm really proud, and that these guys definitely don't have the lowest rates on the planet. And so if you're anything like me, and there's rates out there that beat yours, or you're a little insecure when somebody says, okay, so what's your rate? These guys, although they haven't been in the business as long as me, it's who I'm taking my cues from, because they're doing it at a high level. And I'm one of those people that has no original thought, and I just look and collaborate. I love collaborating. I love like getting in communities like this, because it's people like Jason and Justin. Like when you find people that are having success, I just watch what they do, and then I go back and I make that my own, and I have success. And I've had a string in my personal production as well, where I have really turned a corner. And it's not because my rates suddenly have gotten better. It's because that what I realized from these two, and I'm going to give you guys the answer to the quiz in advance, is that they exude confidence. They really believe in themselves. They really believe in what they're bringing to the client. And I noticed these guys were talking individually 2 different times, and I just noticed in my mind, man, these guys are both excelling across the entire Tribe community. They are both doing really well. What is the common thing that they have here? And I think that you'll notice that they exude confidence. And going back to what you said, Gino, at the beginning, we're mourning, a lot of us, the lack of these rates. And that word mourning, right? A lot of us, I'll use ownership language, I have become wired to associate my success and my net worth, or my self-worth rather, with the numbers that I put up every single month, and the amount of leads that come in, and keeping my team and my branch fed, and always being on top of the leaderboard. And when that doesn't happen, I have not found a great way to show up as the best version of myself, to be confident, to be really secure, to really do what I believe in. And so if any of you have been on that journey like me, and you've had the most success ever in your career, shortly after like the most scarcity ever in your career, I think emotionally that takes a little bit of time to process through. What I hope you'll gain for sure from these two guys is noticing they've got a great process that they believe in, but it's their confidence that makes all the difference in the world. And if you can just measure yourself by the way that you're making progress every single day, and not off the ideal of who you think you should, who you think you should be, that ideal. A gentleman that I'm reading a book says it's like walking toward the horizon. You see the horizon and you want to walk there, and that's where you want to be. But as you walk closer, the horizon just moves further and further away. And so I really just want to echo that I admire you guys for the belief that you bring in to your process every day. And I think your clients are benefiting, and I personally have benefited as well. And so I'd love to just start out by saying, okay, what do you do, before you have this consultation? How are you sizing up these clients, and what's your process, as you go into it? Jason, we'll just start with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. I think the before for me, I try and get as much information from whoever introduced the client as possible, right? Like I want to have an idea, first time home buyer, if you already know kind of what they're scared about, are they an aspiring investor? Try and get as much as you can. But I think the before for me, that's probably the most powerful is the handful of people in town that I get introductions from are 100% clear on what my offering is. So the same things that kind of Mark and Ryan were talking about for Justin and I, like I am exactly who I say I am. I am that person before we meet. I'm that person when we meet, and I'll be that person after. So if I can convince my partners to really understand that I'm here to give away advice on mortgages and to help people better structure their debt, to make more money in their life, to give them more freedom, I don't need you to vet anyone that you're going to introduce. Introduce me to everyone that you think it would be a valuable conversation. And because of that, the way that someone introduces me is, you should talk to Jason. And that's all I ask. And so when that's the prep and the answer is you're talking to him because he knows his stuff and it's going to be valuable as you decide how to structure your debt, that's all I have to provide, right? I'm not beholden to being the cheapest. I'm really clear about that. It seems wildly unfair to expect somebody to be the cheapest and the best. And I do believe in most situations, I'm better at this, and I have to believe that. And I've got to believe that at my core, because if I don't, nobody else is going to. So yeah, I think for me, it's a lot, as far as the before, it's a lot about the way that my partners introduce me and the amount of kind of confidence that they sell me with as well.
That's awesome.
So Jason, I love that. And what that is, there's been a lot of talk about personal brand recently. And that's something that Don and I have a very similar personal brand to what you're describing or did when we were originating. And the reality was, that's exactly what I wanted people to say. For anything financially related, I don't know anybody better that you should talk to than Gino. And that's it. Because anything more than that, and it's going to get sloppy, they're going to make mistakes. I got a loan guy, all this other stuff. No, for anything financial or real estate related, you should start here. And that's a personal brand. You know, a personal brand, I mean, the doc's on the call. It doesn't mean you have to wear a stethoscope all day. That's not what a personal brand is. A personal brand is when someone sees you, they think of this. Now, for me, these days, since I'm not originating anymore, usually it's barbecue, but that's okay.
But they know you.
My brand came from my clients. So I had three new consultations in a week, all client referrals. And so at the beginning, I was like, hey, if you don't mind, just tell me the story about how you got my info. All three, it was at the beginning of the summer, all three were like cookouts and parties. And my clients overheard this person say they were thinking about buying a house. They butted into the conversation and said, you should talk to Jason. During the third client consultation, I bought youshouldtalktojason.com during the third, because I was like, that's all I've really asked of people. And that's exactly what I want my brand to be, right? Like, call me for everything from who do you know that can unclog my toilet to how do we put my kids through college? I'm in. Like, I just want to be helpful.
Jason has super fans. Our friend Brittany wrote this book, and that's what those people are. The people that refer you are your super fans.
Love that, man. And Jason, you know, the thing again that just keeps coming home is your statement. I believe that I'm better. I think it's wildly unfair to expect somebody to be the cheapest and the best. And just your belief, I think, is what carries people through. People are scared right now. I mean, I own real estate and I'm scared, if I'm being candid, you know, like it's like, man, what's real estate going to do? So imagine people that don't work in this industry. And when they see someone like you, who's just so solid and believes in themselves so much, it's hard to just follow someone else who does not have that belief. So I love that.
And I think like, and again, like just because I'm up here and I'm saying this doesn't mean I don't struggle. I think one thing that I fall back on is when I don't feel like the best, I know at a minimum I'm different. And so being different right now, to Mark's point, also means I'm not scared. Doesn't mean I don't have my moments. I called Ryan at 7:30 the other night to ask his advice on what to do with some personal property.
Sure.
But I do have a huge stack of evidence, right? They say confidence is a stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. And so I really like the fact that I know I'm different. I'm surrounded by people that are doing this differently. And so I can look back. So Justin and I were talking before the call. I think if you're looking for that confidence that a lot of us have lost, look back through your career. Look at the people that you know for a fact you tweaked their plan and their life is different now, right? You helped them do a refinance. You shifted their down payment. Those conversations have changed people's lives by $50, $100, $200,000 over 5 or 10 years. That's way more powerful than being a quarter cheaper in rate. It's just not even close. And so like, I think those of you, again, I haven't been around nearly as long as probably most of the people on the call, but when you've been around, you've got all of that data to lean back on that you change people's lives. And that's way, way more important than rate. And if you can kind of remind yourself of that, it's bound to help when it's this tough and scary.
Well said, Jason. The key thing is saying, because we run a region of loan officers a lot like Ryan does. And Ryan has said this in the past, how he helps people be confident in what they do by knowing what they're doing and knowing what their brand is. And we've had, believe it or not, we have a 37-year veteran absolutely doing horrible because he says, I just don't have what I need against the competition, but it's his mindset. We have everything. We have others that are absolutely killing it with the same rates, with the same product, with the same everything. They're just going after it, and they're doing 8 times the business of this veteran that was doing $100 million in production before. Now his mindset's so jacked up because he just doesn't have the confidence and the game plan, and therefore he's relying on price. And you'll never win being the low price leader because someone will always find a lower price. Am I right, Ryan?
Yeah, that's very true. I think what would be helpful for the group here, guys, is if we kind of moved into some scripting and some strategies that you guys are using to be really tactical here. And so, there's different layers of conversion, right? We need to convert someone who may not be sure if buying or investing in real estate is right for them. And then we need to convert that person that we are the best mortgage lender to help them now and into the future. So maybe if you guys wouldn't help, Justin, we'll start with you. What are the conversations you're having? What are the scripts you're using when someone says, I was referred to you, but I'm not sure if now is a good time to buy. I don't know if we want to buy. I don't know if we can buy, fill in the blanks. How are you getting that person to become educated and confident to make a smart decision, not an emotional one?
Yeah, great question. When I get that type of question, my first reaction to that is, cool, let's have a conversation about it. I don't know enough yet about your personal situation to give you guidance and advice on whether you should or shouldn't buy a house right now. So let's have a conversation. Let's talk about your income. Let's talk about your assets. Let's talk about your future goals, your future plans. Does owning a home really fit into that right now? And so somebody comes to me and they're unsure about what to do, man, I'm gonna do the same thing I do with pretty much every client. Walk them through a very educational process, talk to them about inventory, talk to them about the list price versus the sale price that's going on in our area or area that they're looking at. So that way they have in their mind, especially in this market where people think that real estate is crashing and it's not. We all know that, right? It's really, really helpful to educate the client from the get-go because inventory is scarce. It is hard. It's hard to find a home right now. I saw a stat the other day. Homes are getting on average, right around three offers per listing. 30% of homes right now are going over and above the ask price. So even with interest rates above 7 right now, it's still a competitive market. And if they're unsure about whether they should buy, I never tell somebody, hey, you should buy or shouldn't buy a house. It's more so like, here's the data. What do you think? As interest rates drop, do you think it's going to get more competitive? Do you think it's not going to get more competitive? And really kind of let them see it. And once they see it and they can understand the data that's out there, man, it's really a no-brainer at the end of the day. I haven't had anybody that could qualify for a house not decide to go forward with the application.
Yeah, man, that's a big a big part of it. I'll add my take on it here in a second, but Jason, I'd love to hear your same comments on that same question.
Yeah, I struggle with this one because I just like leap out of my shoes excited about buying real estate. And you have to be careful, right? Because the majority of agents, and no knock on agents, but right, it's that they're just always vomiting. It's always a good time to buy. And to be honest, they're not wrong. But to Justin's point, my answer, the first slide in my buyer presentation is the answer to every financial question should be, it depends. And that's the take. If you can help them understand that the advice that you're giving is personal to them, they will take it a lot more often. And then you do the same thing, right? You dig into their situation right now. And I'm honest with people. I'm like, I wish I could find some data that said it would be easier to buy a house in a year. I'd be the first person to tell you to pause. I wish I could find something that supported that. It just doesn't exist, right? For our market, if you'd have told me rates will double at basically the fastest pace ever, how much would values go down? I would have guessed 8 or 10%. We dropped 2, and we're now officially more expensive than we were last year. So there's just piles and piles and piles of data that say it's a good time to buy. The question then becomes, so how do you do it in the most beneficial way? And the only way you can do that is by continuing to ask them questions. But for me, it's having a buyer presentation that is basically non-negotiable. I meet with every single person that gets introduced to me for 1 hour. And in that amount of time, I can be really clear about what I have to offer. And you'll never question whether you made the right decision. Whether you work with me or whether you don't, we get to be really clear about who I am and what I'm offering. And I get to get a really good idea if you are my client as well.
Hey, Jason, I have a question that relates to that.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that helped Don and I, and we learned this when we were doing our radio show, is that it's not all about the money. So we talked to people quite a bit about, why are you buying a house? Oh, well, we want to be in a certain school district. Okay, well, then toss out the investment factor.
Yep.
Who cares if you have appreciation or not? You're going there so you're not paying for private school. Number one, right? Number two, I want to be able to paint my house. I want to have pride of home ownership. I want to be able to do all these things. I got these big ideas. I want to barbecue in the backyard. I want to do all these things that you can't do if you're a renter. So we were always leaning on the emotional side. And is that still working today, to actually talk to people about why they're actually buying a home versus, I want to make $100,000 in the next 2 years in profit?
Yeah, for me, 100%. So the next 2 slides in my presentation are, what's the scariest thing about buying a house, right? Because fears drive us way more than any other motivation. So tell me why you're scared. And then the very next slide is, in light of all those things that we just talked about, in light of the fact that buying a house is terrifying, why now? And then they feed you, Gino, all of the things you're talking about. And if you can get that done at the beginning, you have all the ammunition to talk about for the rest of the hour, right? There's 100 reasons why someone should buy a house. What I need is, in the first 10 minutes, for you to tell me all the reasons you want, so that I can steer the rest of the meeting to speak to those things. Because to your point, right? If you're trying to get into a better school district and I'm just talking to you about how much it's a great investment, you don't care. And I've wasted both of our time.
Really good
So
point.
the only way to make it personal, right, is to ask those questions up front. So I totally agree. Buying a house is an emotional decision, and you've got to speak to that. Yeah.
And one of the things that is coming up for me when you guys are talking about this is, the prospect of can, should, must. The most people who you're going to talk to likely can buy a home. That's why you're talking to them in the first place, right? If they clearly couldn't, then they're probably not going to engage. So let's assume you're talking to someone who can buy a home. The question at that point becomes, are you asking them if they believe they should buy a home? Right, and that's really kind of what Jason and Justin were talking about, is that, hey, Mark, it's pretty clear you can buy a home, but do you understand, like, what do you think? Do you think you should buy one? And then you're going to get their thought process. If they can't tell you the answer is yes to they should, then that's when you want to give them the presentation. We call it our bulletproof buyer presentation, that shows them all the things Justin was talking about, right? Shows them the demographics, shows them the trends of supply and demand, shows them interest rate movements, recessionary problems. Like, it clearly, like, you cannot look at that and say, oh yeah, I think home value is going to go down, right? Or I think it's going to become easier to buy a home. So at the end of that presentation, which we can share with you in a bit, is the question, okay, now what are your thoughts? Like after learning all this, now do you believe you should buy a home? And most people, 99% of them are going to say yes, right? The last question then you like, this is the real pro, like elite level question is, all right, Mark, do you believe that, after everything that, do you understand why I think you must buy a home right now? And almost no one's going to say yes to that. And that's your opportunity to show them what happens if they don't. And say, look, my job is not to sell you a loan, right? Most loan officers are here to sell you debt. Most real estate agents are here to sell you a house, right? My job is to help you do somewhat scary things, right? But educated and confidently. And if you don't buy a home today, this train is going to pass you by. It's going to be almost impossible to catch up with it. And then rents are going to go to a certain place where over time, and you show them the rent factors, where you won't even be able to afford where you live today. Like it won't be your decision. That's why I feel, Mark, that you must buy a home, right? And if you don't, then we should start looking in other areas or other markets. And like this is our time to give bold, courageous advice, right? Like that's what real advocates do. Like that's what advisors do. They don't tell you what you want to hear. Someone says, I don't think it's the right time. Yeah, okay, well, let me follow up with you when you think it is. Like you're not doing anyone any favors there, right? Like tell them the truth and they'll thank you for it. Like you want people to come back to you 5 years from now and say, if it weren't for you, my family would be in a very tough situation. Thank you. Right? Like that's the level of advice we want to get to. Well, so I want to be cognizant of time. I wish we had more time here today, but let's assume that we get the people to a place where they think they can and they should buy a home. Now, why not just use the cheapest, right? Like, why not take your advice and your guidance and go to ABC online and, find the absolute cheapest mortgage rate you can? Like, that's a big problem in our industry today, right? As people are trying to figure out, why should someone use me if I'm not the cheapest? And 99% of loan officers do not have that answer. You two are some of the best at it that we've seen in Triibe. So Justin, why don't you go first on this one, right? Like, how are you differentiating yourself to where people choose you because of you and what you're committing to them, not because of the rate they see versus what they see online?
Yeah, so I think there's a few reasons for that. Number one is everything that we do post-closing. I feel like no other loan officer in the country can really touch that or compete with it. I'm happy to get into that more and kind of touch on what we're doing post-closing. At the end of my pre-purchase consultation, it's my favorite kind of thing to talk about. I really get the commitment on that phone call and I'm pushing for it. It's, hey, we enjoyed getting to visit with you. Was this helpful? That's what I ask at the end. And more times than not, most people are responding back with like, oh my gosh, I didn't know any of this. Yes, this was super helpful. And then that's when I jump into trying to close that deal and get their commitment. It's, hey, I'm glad that you thought that this was helpful. The next step is for us to submit your loan through our TBD underwrite. And I'll explain what that is about going through and having an underwriter initially approve the file. That's going to allow you in a multiple offer situation to waive your finance contingency. It's going to allow you to close in 10 to 14 days. And you can really make yourself look like a cash offer. So if you're competing with somebody and it's a family that's selling that home, they probably don't want to sell it to this cash offer that's an investor. I can pick up the phone, I can call the listing agent, and if I can get them to buy into that TBD loan approval, man, they're not going anywhere. It's no longer a rate conversation at that point.
So
Are you getting them to commit to you at that point?
I am. I tell them right from the get-go, like in order for me to submit you through this process, it costs me about $1,000 to do it. So I'm not going to do it if you have any hesitations on whether we're the right team or the right lending partner to help you. But if you feel like we're the right team and the right lending partner to help you, this would logically be the next step, because this is going to give you that gun going into the knife fight to really compete at the highest level you possibly can to get this home under contract.
Justin, sorry. I used that exact script this morning, verbatim, with the guy that was really standoffish. Met in person, like the first in-person meeting I've had in, I don't know, like maybe a year. And he was like totally understood like why it was a value prop, and was like, how do I know like how your rates compare? And I know how I answered it, but let's just say that you had that objection. I'm sure that it's come up with you, how do you handle that exact question?
So before I get to the TBD loan approval part, I've already gone through the loan presentation. And one thing I would say that's really been helpful for getting commitment, probably 2 or 3 months ago, I switched up how I was showing my mortgage coach presentation. I was really just kind of showing, hey, here's a 30-year fixed, no points. Here's a 15-year fixed, no points. Here's a 2-1 buy down, right? Now, when I started to feel like I was losing deals to rate, I started to show 30-year fixed, no points, with 1 point, with 2 points, with 3 points, the 2-1 buy down, and really taking people through that process and letting them know you can have any interest rate you want to. My personal opinion, you don't need to be paying points right now. I think that's stupid. But again, if the client wants to do that, it's their money. Let them do that. It's, they can take our guidance or they can leave it. I think the part about getting commitment, and if somebody asks me, hey, I feel like your rate's a little bit higher, no problem. That person, they should be cheaper, ... And I pause after I say that. Mark, I understand that person's a 1/4 point lower. They should be a 1/4 point lower. And I just look them
I
dead.
love that.
I look at them dead in the eye, just like I'm looking at the screen right now. And I let them think on that. And then we go back and remind them everything that we do post-closing, these people don't do it. I can guarantee you that. So if you found value in anything that we talked about that we do post-closing, that company, they should be cheaper.
I love it, man. I hope you guys can see why Justin is having his best year ever.
I love that. It's interesting. You think about, we talked about, and Ryan just touched on it a little bit too. We had the talk about the advisor, and I think that Dave Savage probably championed that the most. And he was really, really going after it, saying, you have to be an advisor. You have to be an advisor. Well, the truth of the matter is not everybody is. And you really got to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I worthy of that title? And if I'm not, then somebody else is just better than I am. And I need to train, and I need to work harder, and I need to read more books, and I need to watch the news more, or whatever it is that you're not good at today. You got to get better at it. And I know this is kind of, I don't know, Don doesn't like it when I say it this way, but I say it this way because it's impactful. If you lost a deal, it's because someone was better than you. Period. End of story. They were better than you. Accept it, acknowledge it, go back to the drawing board and get better.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, I think one thing that's super important for people to understand, Ryan, you're going to have heard this before, but you guys get to decide what voice shows up. You call it the voice choice, right? Your positive voice either steps up to the podium or your negative voice steps up. And one thing for me, and I've gone through this year, I've had times where I've been down and felt like, man, that guy was better than me. He whipped my butt all up and down there and just took that file, right? At the end of the day, you have to make that choice that your positive voice is going to show up. And I think part of that is taking care of your health, getting up early, exercising. Our business is a hard business. It's stressful, right? There's a lot of emotion around it. And if you're not taking care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to step up to the podium with a positive voice to take care of other people.
Yeah, man, that's super well said. I mean, we could spend a whole another couple hours on that topic.
Right.
Well,
Go back to
Jason,
business planning, your why, and
right.
But good point, because you're putting yourself in the right mindset, the right frame set, because you have to be super positive, because you can't risk losing anything right now. We tell our team, and I know Ryan does the same, and you guys are hitting the nail on the head, this whole conversion thing, is you can't risk losing a deal right now. There's not enough out there. So anytime you have an at bat, you have to hit better than, 300. You have to. I mean, you just do, because there's not much out there. So you better be as confident and have your A game in. I love that Krista put before we even got going, is that you guys study your craft. You don't just wing it. And Gino's learned from this too, because he was a master wing it guy. I swear, the guy's so gifted, but he also learned that You can't always get away with that when you're competing against somebody that really freaking knows their shit. And you can tell if somebody's winging it or they know their stuff. And you guys, perfect your craft. And I applaud that, because you know that no one's going to compete with you. You know that going in, you're like, I'm going to be better than anyone else you're going to talk to, plain and simple. And that's going to be a benefit to you. And I love, Justin, I promise you, I'm going to share that with everybody when they get that comment about, oh, well, they're, a 0.25% lower. Well, they should be.
Yeah.
That's the kind of service they give you before, during, and after. That's what you're going to lose out on. And that's why they have to give you a cheaper rate, just like you get a cheaper appliance, but you know what you're getting.
Yeah. So let's land on this for a second, because and I told Savages the other day, we talk a lot about advice, right? And how good are we at education and the advice we give. I promise you, people can take that advice and go find someone cheaper and use it. Right. And so we have to offer more than advice. And Jason, I know you do this extremely well, right? Because we talk about how we help someone before the transaction, how we help them during, but most importantly, what you do really well is you talk about how you're going to impact that family's life after.
Yeah.
Can you, what is your value proposition when someone says, why you? You could give great advice. We all know that you do give great advice, right? But there's a lot of loan officers that could give really good advice. I mean, you could go get good advice from a lot of people and then choose the cheapest one, right? So what's to prevent your clients from choosing the cheapest, even if multiple people give them good advice?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, I'm overly transparent about who I am. And part of my pitch is, look, I'm obsessive about this. I am obsessive about your mortgage and your situation and your family's well-being. So as good as I am before, and as good as I think my team and I am during, I think we're even more valuable over the next 30 or 50 years. So as soon as we close the loan, I've already built your refi, right? I know which month you made your 5th payment. I know I can start. I know what the rate needs to be. And I'm telling you this. And so I'm presenting that. So you're going to always be in the best mortgage. You don't have to do it. If you see a headline, your thought shouldn't be, oh gosh, our rate's low enough. Your thought is, Jason's already geeking out over that. I don't need to spend any brain space. He's got me. And that's how we show up. And then one of the other things that we're really good at is I put a team around people. In my initial consultation, I'm like, look, you will have a person for everything from how do you unclog your toilet to how do we put your kids through college. So my goal is that they have someone that they can go to that they trust at the same level they do me for every major decision in their life. And I can't do that all in 30 days, right? That happens over the course of the year. We've got such a good follow-up program, right? We've got people that work for us who do 7-day calls, 3-month calls, 6-month calls. We do annual reviews with all of our clients. We put on learning events. If you want a client for life, you have to be a part of their life. And that's something that we really, really excel on. And that's how you get those super fans, right? Is you become the go-to for all of those things. So again, as much as I'll put myself up against anybody in the process, it's what we do after. And that's also how you build partners in the industry, right? Because so many of us that are great in this moment, face-to-face, all the talking, we're terrible at follow-up. That is me. I had to call Ryan in September and say, hey, I know everybody is laying people off. I have to hire someone. I'm dropping the ball on the things I'm not good at. I have to do this. And it's been, exponential for my business to acknowledge what I can do and what I'm not good at, because we have all these tools, but if they're not getting implemented and we're not staying in front of people for the entire time that they have a mortgage, then I'm selling something that doesn't exist. So that long-term value to have someone manage your mortgage and your debt. Locally, especially a lot of my buyers are younger. In the first 5 years of home ownership, they've got more money locked in their house than they do in both retirement accounts combined. And having somebody help you understand that and manage that is, again, way more valuable than a quarter in rate.
Yeah, team, if you're listening to this, just put yourself in, reverse the order here. You be the client and ask yourself, let's say you were planning on putting 20% down, and Joe, the loan officer, said 5% down is better, and he gave you this great strategy, and you realize, oh, that's a really good idea. But then, somebody else was a quarter or half a point better, and you could employ that same strategy. Would you be loyal to Joe just because he taught you something, or would you save the $50 to $100 a month for the next 30 years? Right. And so the key to this is what Jason is telling people is that they're never going to overpay. That's what people really want to avoid, right? They want to avoid the feeling that they're overpaying for something. And what Jason and Justin do so beautifully is that they show them how this is a long-term partnership, and the client could never overpay for the guidance and proactive advice and the hand holding. I'm going to take you from where you are to a place you would have never been financially if it weren't for me and my team. So if you think $50 a month is a lot of money, like the cost of not getting this advice and guidance and this planning and the strategy and having my team engaged, it is a drop in the bucket compared to that. And so that's where I would encourage everyone to spend a lot of time and energy, is like, figure out what makes you worth more. And spoiler alert, it's not closing fast. It's not necessarily your advice, right? Like, what makes someone willing to pay for a value that they perceive to be massively impactful if you open up their span of view, right? Because they're stuck on a 30-day window as opposed to a 30-year window.
Yeah, I love opening up that timeline. That really changes things. But you have to have a valuable network. That's the reality, right? So Don and I always had a very valuable network, and we believed in the value of our network. We knew we had a great financial planner. We knew we had the best bankruptcy attorney. We knew we had the best of the best on our side. So it was really easy. It's like, you get to plug into my life team. It took me 30 years to get that life team together, and you get to shortcut it. You get to use it.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Jason?
Well, I also think that, again, it's rates that have so many of us down. It's rates that have so many clients concerned. Those rates are presenting an absolute opportunity in a lot of markets. And it's also presenting you all as loan officers with an opportunity to where rate, in my opinion, matters less than it did during COVID, right? Like it's not going to be around as long, and make sure that you can speak to that. Like, make sure you understand why, we've had 7 recessions since 1970, and every one of them have led to a lowering of rates. Like, be able to help people understand that you're writing a temporary mortgage. It's really important that we structure it in a particular way. I explain to folks that, like, the mortgage isn't just specific to you, it's to what property you're going after. So we need to dig in. When you're ready to write your offer, reach out, right? I don't want you writing offers blindly. I want to know what you're looking at. How long are you going to live there? What needs to be done? How do we build this that benefits you? The rate and the actual mortgage are irrelevant. Like, let's build the offer that works best for your family. And
Yeah,
so
like Krista put that in the chat, where Josh Metal basically, quoted, basically, is it more important that you get the home or the lowest rate? And right now, without having a strategy, you may not get that home, or not the home that you want. With a good strategy and somebody that the local community trusts to help you get that offer accepted. I mean, we just got one accepted because the #1 listing agent in our town, by far, he probably owns 25% of our inventory, knows us and trusts us. And we can make a call and say, we have, when we call them up and say, we have an offer for you, I personally will guarantee that will close, and it can close in 14 days or 21 days if you want. It's already pre-approved, and it's a great offer. And our buyers love this home. It's better than a cash offer, and please help us, and he'll take our offer over someone else's because he knows we'll get the job done, and it's one less thing off his head because he's working on 100 other offers, so it makes a difference. And you tell them that you confidently can help them get their home. Otherwise, you're gonna be frustrated. And what good is that? What is the lowest rate? Because they change daily. So you're worried about 0.25%. Tomorrow that could go up 0.25%, but you don't have your home. So that rate is really irrelevant. It sounds good right now, but if you don't get your home, that's way more frustrating.
Don, I want to echo on that if I can for just a sec. Josh's script, I want to add to it, because when you ask that question, what's more important, the rate or the home? A lot of people are going to tell you the interest rate. And the follow-up to that is, well, why do you think the interest rate is the most important thing? And they're going to tell you, Justin, this is a 30-year fixed loan. Boom. Now you have them. You get to educate them, right? I'm leading them to that question because we all know the loan that they're going into, it's not a 30-year loan. It's going to be temporary. It might be a 2-year loan, might be an 18-month loan, might be a year loan. However we get out of that loan, maybe we do a lender paid refi because we think rates are going to continue to go lower. Maybe you pay for the closing costs when we refi because we don't think rates are going to continue to go lower. One of my favorite stories to tell on that is I had a client in Dallas buy a $3.5 million home right next door to George W. Bush in 2019. He had a 4% interest rate. Interest rates dropped in 2020, obviously, dropped to about 3.125, but we felt like they were going to go lower. He didn't want to wait for those savings for the interest rate to get lower. So instead of refining him at 3.125, we bumped it up to 3.375. We refied him, we paid for the closing cost. Then rates dropped to 2.75 and we refinanced him one more time and he took on the closing cost, but he spent $10,000 in total. His total savings was $2,500. Is he happy? So making sure that they understand that the loan that they're in today is temporary and how we get them out of it and into the next one is probably more important than the interest rate that they're getting today.
Man, that's gold. And I love the story, right? People really connect with stories. And so the more stories you have in your arsenal, the better. So team, we have only a little bit of time left. And, first I just want to thank Justin and Jason for coming on and sharing with this group. This is like tip of the iceberg on what we could train on and how you guys are doing such a good job. But I think today we just shared a lot of tactics on lead conversion, tactics for, getting people to understand how and why they should be buying real estate. And, one of the things that you might really enjoy if you liked what you've heard today is at Triibe, we developed what we call a perfect conversion partner toolkit and boot camp. And this actually starts in about a week, right? And so the reason we created this is because we just got a lot of questions about like, hey, how are you guys still thriving in the market? And how are you driving really good margins? And how are you holding price? People like Justin, having his best year ever. People like, Jason, who's only third year in the business, who's just outpacing people that have been in the business for 20 years. Like, what are you doing? And so we said, we have to create a product that people can, dive into and really learn from. And so we had a long discussion about what we believe and what we know the way through this market to be. And it just came down to, we have to improve our skill set, right? We have to create a value that just quite frankly, we've never done in the mortgage business before. Right. And so as we created this toolkit and boot camp, we wanted to include as many people as we possibly could. Right. And so as we've been talking about it a little bit today, I think we're all experiencing probably the same thing, right? Buyers are a bit frozen. We talked about how we can help them with that. Realtors feel helpless because they're having a hard time with conversion and even converting a lot of homeowners into sellers. There's opportunities out there, as we know, but they're just tough to acquire and to get after. And what we believe is that it's imperative that you have to become the person that will help realtors get their clients off the fence, right? Get them to a bulletproof mindset to where they can, should, and must buy a home. And the biggest problem I have that I'm hearing in coaching right now is that many leaders are just saying, stay positive, work harder, make more calls, get back to the basics, and it's going to be okay. Like you probably heard me if you were at Mastermind. That's not true, right? We've passed that, not that party anymore, right? We have to transform at this point in the market into what our clients and business partners actually need us to become. So this toolkit and bootcamp helps you do exactly that. On top of that, we've also partnered with Barry Habib and his team to give you a full scholarship and access to certified mortgage advisor. And if you already have it, it will actually pay for your renewal. If you guys haven't seen Barry's CMA thing, it is awesome, right? It's basically 30 years of his market experience, economic experience. It's about an 8-hour course. You get the CMA designation. It also helps you I think with some of your continuing education as well. But the combination of those two things, I think will take you from a loan officer to a mortgage professional in a very short period of time. And without it, you're going to have a bumpier road, right? So I would highly encourage you guys to learn more about it. I'm going to pass it over to Krista so she can share what's in the toolkit and the boot camp for anyone who might want to join. It starts August 5th. And hopefully we'll see you guys there. Krista, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And before we get into that, Troy, I saw your question. CMA alone is $1995 or $2,000. And I just want to touch on this point about getting you into your home. So I'm not a mortgage advisor, right? I came from the social impact industry, and I'm lucky to get to partner with these guys to try to transform this industry and bring more social impact to it. So, but I'm a home buyer. And Mark here is actually, he's my close friend, and he's also my loan officer. And twice, but I did not know that like you needed help getting the offer accepted. I just thought my offer is gonna be accepted because, like, you know, I'm me. So like what, I haven't really gone through it before. And so I would say that your clients don't know, and I would explain to them through stories. Mark, I haven't come back and told you this, but when Josh said that about like, is it more important for you to get the home, or is the rate more important? I literally flashed to that moment. I was standing in this room and I called you, and I was shaking because the deal was about to fall through for that Big Bear house. And guys, like, anyway, the Big Bear house means a lot to me. It's our second home. It's an investment property, and it was about to go south because the guy wanted to pull out, and he was a real estate attorney. And he was like, now that we have the Big Bear house and we're around the lake, they're like, oh yeah, he's blacklisted. That guy was a major asshole. Anyway, he wanted to pull out of that deal badly, and he found a loophole, and the deal was about to go down. And Mark was on vacation calling me from the side of the trailer saying, I'm about to pull in a 10-year favor to get this deal done. And he got it done. And we have that house now. And there's a room in it that's for my mom, who is the matriarch of our family and has built everything for us and taken everybody in at various times. And that house is the place we gather the family. So it's critically important. Mark couldn't know that then. And I couldn't know that we would have lost the house without you. So you know what? Find the people who could tell the stories on your behalf of how you got the house, because the buyers won't know otherwise. So I just wanted to cap that piece for me and my personal experience there, and my naivete as a buyer as well. So with that, I will go into what's in the toolkit. Let me share my screen here. And so the perfect conversion partner toolkit, our stuff alone is about 6 hours of content. And what you get in module 1 is all about buyer conversion. And it trains you, right, how to unfreeze and bulletproof buyers. Ryan has talked a little bit about this stuff, but it goes from like getting the attention of buyers during your first call. So what do you say on the first call through now? How do you present during the dreams and goals call that we set up? And then what to present at the pre-purchase consultation meeting once you earn that, to what and how to present our bulletproof buyer presentation to both buyers and realtors, by the way, to the contract meeting and how you run that. And that's the whole buyer side. And then you have the realtor acquisition side. And that trains you on what you should be presenting to realtors today to earn their business and solve their biggest problem, which is getting more deals. So that starts with, how do you even get the attention of realtors? How do you even get to have a conversation with them? Leads into the presentation that you will deliver to your realtors once you get that. And we teach that on a one-to-many, as well as you can deliver that presentation one-to-one, if that's where your comfort level is. To, okay, once you deliver that presentation, how you get that introductory meeting, a private introductory meeting, and how to run that meeting completely. And then what and how to present at the business partnership planning meeting that you're going to set up right at the end of your private introductory meeting. And these come with so there's videos, there's the written scripts, or the presentations come in PowerPoint format so that you can turn them into your own quickly. So that's the toolkit. And the normal price of that is $4.99. So what I also want to tell you, if you're talking about amazing humans, Don and Gino, we are so grateful to have been with you guys from the beginning. And I went to these guys and I was like, look, we're offering this already pretty cheaply. I could either pay you a referral fee for people who come over, or I can give your community a 20% discount. And they said, give it all to the community. right? We want them to have the most value. So just want you to know how
I
much
want them to take action.
Exactly. So it's $3.99 for you guys. If you are, and that gives you everything you need to go do it. If you're an implementer who wants an implementation plan, like a day by day plus coaching along the way, then we have the boot camp package. That's normally $4.99 per month for 3 months. That's $3.99 for you guys. That includes the toolkit, a 90-day plan to implement the toolkit, 7 live coaching webinars over the next few months. And that includes Barry Habib's certified mortgage advisor course. And when you complete it, the designation. So again, like just amazing, phenomenal deal. As I shared before, CMA alone is $2,000. And this will be what, $1,200 for you guys over 3 months. So that's that. And I mean, if you're the type of person who wants it all, we do have a bonus package. Again, that would be $3.99 a month for 6 months. That comes with all of that stuff. And plus we have all these other bonuses. We develop weekly marketing content for you. There's 5 additional trainings in there. There's also the empowered buyer presentation when the market is not as competitive and buyers are super frozen. WhatsApp group, additional 2 webinars per month and monthly extreme implementers workshop. But really, I honestly think the best value is the boot camp. You'll choose the value for yourself. I think they're all valuable, but the best way to get into it is a boot camp. And the first webinar is going to be on August 8th. We're asking people to get in by August 5th because there's a little bit of pre-work to do before that first live coaching webinar on August 8th. And I'll put the links in the chat for you guys to go to if you're interested in those things.
Guys, I'll just give one little plug here. I first just want to say thank you, Gino and Don, for having us here, and Jason and Justin for just dropping so much knowledge and just how you guys show up. It's an honor for sure. And I'll tell you guys this: there's never been a piece of collateral in the 20 years that I've been doing business that's better than that presentation. If you did nothing but go through the boot camp for the presentation and you went crazy with your agent, you will not be able to convince me that you won't get a loan out of that, which will pay for it. It's literally the best piece of collateral I've taken to the real estate community in the 20 years that I've been doing this. And so I definitely think it's worth it for anybody that wants to invest in it. And I know it's tough right now to invest in anything just because it's tight for all of us, but it's an amazing piece of collateral. So it works in my business.
Don't know how you can't invest in this. I mean, right now, I've been in this like Ryan and quite a few, been in this a few cycles. And if you don't invest in it, you're just going to be one of the ones that go away. I'm sorry, you have to lean in now. But the advantage is you're the one who's going to get what market share is there. You have 2 people on this call that are absolutely killing it and breaking, having some of their best years ever. And then when it turns, you're even going to capture more. You're going to absolutely crush it. We've done this over and over, and we're telling our team, and those are leaning in and going out there and grabbing more market share, getting more agents, getting more buyers, doing a better job with their database. So when it turns, you're going to barely be able to handle the business that comes in. So it's a kind of a no-brainer. I mean, I see what you guys are offering on this, and you're going to help make it easy to convert. That's the hard thing right now is conversion. We have, with most of the industry, the conversion rates that used to be, 70%, 50 to 70% on your applications is down to 10 to 15%. So how do you increase that? And this is a great way to do it. So thank you for the incredible offer and the discount for our members. And hopefully those of you on this call take advantage of this. You'd be kind of silly not to, without a doubt. And you guys, Justin and Jason, holy cow, dudes. I'm a student of the game, as Gino knows. I literally have 3 pages of notes from you guys because this was awesome stuff that I'm going to share with our team that I took that was pearls of wisdom and authentic, which is really cool. It wasn't, you guys aren't salespeople. You're just producers that go out there and add value to your clients. And that's why I have 3 pages of notes. And it was phenomenal stuff, guys. So cool. And Ryan, thank you. And Mark and Krista for bringing these guys on. I mean, it's cool. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Next week, we have Bill Dallas on. Who doesn't know Bill Dallas, an icon in the industry, guy that has his pulse on the industry, and you never know what Bill's gonna say. We don't, trust us. But he's gonna tell, he's out there and about talking to all the different companies. He's a visionary. He's owned and run multiple companies. I've worked with Gino and I have worked with Bill for years. Just a real good guy, and is going to speak from the heart, and you don't want to miss Bill. Trust us. Share this with your friends because you don't know what Bill's going to say. It's well worth it. Very cool stuff next week. And then do we have the Momentum Builder event stuff, Sonia?
I'm sure we do.
Okay, there it is. So Ryan's one of the speakers at this, Barry, Todd, the talk people, February 20th through the 22nd. And the difference between this and a lot of events, and we support Mastermind, we support Sales Master, we go to them, they're amazing, you should go to them all. But what we're trying to accomplish here is this is going to be an experience. We promise you it's not just an event. You're not just going to go there, sit in your seat, and then go home. This will be an experience that we're actually eliminated VIP tickets. We don't want anyone missing out on anything regarding Momentum Builder 2024. So we have one ticket price only. That way you get all the networking events because this is your community. You want to get to know more of your community members because you don't know who's going to affect your life. Anybody on here, has someone affected your life that you've met and changed your career or given you ideas or you collaborated with? Justin? Jason, I'm sure. So we want you to be part of all the networking events. Everybody there is going to give you only pearls of wisdom, not a bunch of fluff, just pearls of wisdom. Ryan knows this. We already talked about it at Mastermind. We're like, you're going to be kind of TED Talk, dude. You're going to go into it for, 20 minutes of hardcore. Here's what you need to do. And then live Q&A so you guys can engage with them and know how to actually implement it. And it's going to be amazing. We start off in the mornings with a hot breakfast. So you network and you're energized and you're doing the networking you should. We have networking events afterwards. It's going to be, and the venues off the charts. The restaurants, the bars, the food, the camaraderie is going to be off the charts. So we have a discount for anybody that's on the call. I don't know if we have that there, but momentumbuilder.com has all that info there. And the early bird price is available now, but it'll go away. This will sell out. We're also keeping it intimate, only 500 people. That's it. We're not going for 1,000. We're not going for 1,500. We want it intimate. I talked, Ryan, I love that. I talked to you and you're like, I like the intimacy. I like being able to talk to and with the people that are at the event. I like going to the networking event and being able to talk to them. When you get over 1,500 people, it's sometimes challenging. So, all right. Anybody else have anything else to add? There's your discount code, DG 2024.
Yeah, I'll just close by saying, I'll bet you the top 500 mortgage professionals in the country go to that event, because it's very much unlike any of the other ones where you just go and sit and watch, and especially the way you guys are doing it this year. I can't wait to go. I can't wait to learn, and I want to thank you guys because this is a very easy time for you to say, well, the business is hard, let's not do this, but our industry needs it now more than ever. And you guys stepping up to do this in a really unique, exciting, cutting edge way is something that I'm just super amazed by and proud to be a part of. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just wait till you see what we're doing with Momentum Builder, moving forward with our community, our membership, the access, all the value that it's going to give. And those part of the community are just going to have an advantage over everyone. I mean, all we're given is a resource for everyone, shortcuts that, help me actually enjoy and thrive in the business, just like you guys are using here, Jason and Justin and Mark. And, it's an advantage. And thank you I love what the tribe does, how you guys give and it's legit. It's not we're pretty particular who we add to the Momentum Builder community. As you know, we have people call us, hey, I want to be part of it. I want to offer. We need to know who you are. We need to know your value proposition. We need to know, what you're going to do for our community. And you guys do a great job. You guys are givers. You're always leaning in. And Jason, Justin, thank you so much for giving up time out of your busy schedules, dudes. You don't have to do this. It was very cool. You guys are givers, and that's how you gain. The more you give, the more you get. it's just the way, the universal works. And we thank you all for being part of our call today.
Awesome. Thank you all. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Very cool. And
everybody.
sign up, you guys, sign up.
Thanks for
Take
having
the
us.
boot camp. If you don't, you're crazy. Thanks,
Thank y'all.
everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, good seeing you guys.
You too, man.
All right, bro.